What is up? Hope you're doing well. This is Kendall back here again with another video. And in this, I want to cover 8 life manifestos that I have learned over time, and just some patterns that I've recognized by things that I've noticed that have helped me grow, and that have actually helped me actually fine tune and understand and can get into complete alignment with when it comes to just things that have just helped me personally. So I wanted to go ahead and just document that and actually share it with you guys. So principle number 1 is understanding your strengths. Being self-aware and knowing what you're good at is going to do tremendous value for you and add tremendously to your life when you understand the things that you're actually naturally good at. Now, everybody has natural good strengths and things that they are proud of, or just things they have an aptitude for. So embracing what those are and getting in tune with what those are, that is what's going to help to really give you an edge. Because instead of trying to mitigate your weaknesses, which is going to turn out to be average at best, you're getting into tune with what you're good at, what you want to do, what you have a natural affinity for, and that muscle actually gets stronger. In fact, if you know what you're good at and you practice it and you become aware of it, it makes it even stronger versus, not knowing what you're good at and then meandering around, and then you're wasting all this time trying different things. And usually it's in hindsight where we begin to notice these things. It's not always up front, but usually by the time we are like in middle school or high school, we can look back on our lives and we'll get an idea of, okay, these are some things that I've been good at, or there are certain things that people will always ask me to do, or these are things I was always most proud of. So understand what your strengths are. Maybe you're great at writing. Maybe you're really funny. Maybe you're charismatic. Maybe you're athletic. Maybe you have a great musical ear. Maybe you can tell great stories. But the most important thing is to understand what you are good at and double down on that, or find ways, at least maybe at the first 30 minutes of your day in the morning, to spend time actually developing that skill and developing that talent. Number 2 is to always be learning. You always want to spend time learning new things, developing your mindset, developing whatever skill that you have, learning new perspectives, learning new ways to think and experience and see and communicate. Learning is going to be the number 1 caveat when it comes to developing yourself and saving time rather than having to live through each and every experience. You can actually find the experience that someone else has had and glean on their expertise, or glean on the expertise of others, because maybe they've collected a bunch of other perspectives, and you can learn from those and find ways to integrate that into your life. And Tony Robbins always says, when you learn from others, you can turn decades into days. And that is true. When you learn things from other people's experiences, their failures, their successes, it doesn't matter. You have an edge, because now you don't have to go through every single experience yourself in order to benefit from that. Number 3 is progress over perfection. Now, perfection is really an excuse for either not feeling like you're good enough, or that you don't feel like that you have the skill set, or maybe your fear of other people's judgments, and then that leads to procrastination. And the best way to overcome that is really just to take action. But it's all about making small little steps and progressing in the direction that you want to go in. It doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect off the bat. In fact, it will never be perfect, but you can always make progress toward the ideal scenario that you would like that project to be in. So if you are working on a project, if you are making blog posts, or you're working on you're working on something that you personally find satisfying and enjoying, it's all about making little micro steps toward that. Have a baseline setting, or a baseline standard that you at least want to hit, and then you can go back and make little micro changes to that in order to make it even better. And what's great about this, about taking that route, is that when you get it out of your hands and into the hands of the market will let you know, hey, we like this part. It'd be cool if you add this or if you change these few things. And then your community or the market will actually help you improve. That's the great thing about looking for progress rather than simply trying to make it perfect off the bat, because once you get it out of your hands, you're always going to think about something that you want to do or that you would have changed. And that's normal. It's rare, if at all, if ever, if something will go out and you'll think it's absolutely perfect. And usually when that does, the harsh reality will come in where people will be honest about how they feel about it. And then you may feel, okay, well, maybe I'm not as good as I thought. Well, maybe so, or maybe you are, and there's ways to become even better. Number 4 is to align with reality. Now, I'm an artist by nature. That's my DNA. I understand that about myself. I've been an artist my entire life. Graphic design in particular, was a skill set that I actually learned. In fact, the design I actually learned from playing role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and Macross Plus and things from Palladium and TSR, if you're old school, and Wizards of the Coast, or White Wolf as well. So tabletop role-playing games and storytelling games is where I really begin to understand the systems of design and how designing something, whether it be mechanical or whether it be like layout, in order to have a certain function for a certain result. Now, when it comes to aligning with reality, a lot of things that we experience and that we see and these ideas that we come up with are based on reality. Either it's based on the limitations of reality, or it's directly modeled from something that we've experienced or that we've seen other experiences or that we've witnessed. And so aligning with the reality is going to be your best bet, because then now you're building something on a firm foundation. You're looking at it from the way that it actually is, and not just something that's unrelatable because there's a gap between what's real and what's possible. You want to find a way to cross that chasm, so to speak, and find a way to bridge that gap between what is real and what's possible. And by synthesizing them and finding a way to bridge it, you have a harmony that begins to take place over possibilities and bringing the future into the present. Number 5 is to be persistent. You want to keep going. This always goes back to progress over perfection. So it's making those small little steps, being persistent, and making each day one day better than it was yesterday. You're gonna have some days that you completely knock it out of the park and you're doing amazing, and other days where it might seem a little slow and that you're spinning your wheels. Well, that happens from time to time. It's really about just the overall pushing. Sometimes you may feel tired and you might end up questioning yourself, but you do it anyway. You just keep finding a way to keep moving forward. Any excuse you can to keep moving forward, not an excuse to hold you back, but just excuses to keep you moving forward, is always going to work in your favor. And at number 6, we have be patient. Patient is extremely important, because when you're patient, it's okay to be excited about something. I mean, that's perfectly normal. It's fine to be excited and you want something to happen and you're ready for it to just be here now, and you can't wait to finish. And I recently, for example, wrote a blog post on is the ultimate guide to logo design. And I wanted it to be done because I knew this was I wanted it to be a massive project, and I just wanted it to be over. And the one way that I found a way to be patient about it is I had an idea of the end goal in mind. I knew that I wanted to stuff as much as I could into a single blog post, but I knew that if I got burnt out, or if I didn't have a solid system or a plan, or at least chapters of how I wanted to break down the actual post, then I would have given up. I would have had no structure, no order. So by breaking this up into chunks, it helped me to be patient because I knew that daily or weekly I was going to be making progress toward a specific goal. And I was patient enough to realize, okay, I'm going to reach a point where and then eventually I'm just going to have to go ahead and edit it. So when I'm going through this process, I began to realize, hey, I'm making progress. Hey, I'm getting more ideas on how to make this even better. And that patience combined with persistence is what helped me to move forward as well as innovate along the way and come up with new ideas to make it even stronger. 7 is experience over theory. Now, there's a lot of things that are great. They sound great in theory. It sounds great on paper. It's easy to understand, but the execution is always where the sweat comes in, that sweat equity of actually doing something. So it's not just understanding something, it's applying it. So one way that I've personally found for this, that this works for me, is to simply read slowly and then apply each method. Apply each method until maybe you've gotten it down, or maybe you've had enough revisions on that method that you begin to intellectually understand it and comprehend it in a practical way, simply because you've applied it. So the experience of doing something is unique to every individual. And that's why going through something and trying it and testing it and see how it relates to your reality is much better than theorizing it and imagining how it's going to work. Just get in, dive in, give it a shot, and don't be afraid of what other people think. And finally, number 8, I have keep creating. So you want to keep creating, you want to keep making, you want to keep doing, you want to keep sharing. If you learn something like maybe 8 tips of philosophies of things you've learned in your life. If you learned a new skill set, share it with other people. If you've read something that's insightful, share it with other people, and do it in any medium that feels comfortable for you. It might be a video, it could be written word, it could be a podcast. It doesn't really matter. It can be in pictures, it can be a painting, it can be a song. The idea is just you want to keep making things, because as you consume things and then you share it back out and you're creating it, then what happens is that you begin to understand it a little bit more. It's no longer just in your head. You're taking what's inside and you're expressing it back out. And that kind of gets you a way to take what's in your head and getting it out in front of you so you can see it, so you can actually see the pieces. So that's the same way that we work as humans, especially when we're communicating, is that when we're sharing ideas, when we're explaining something to somebody else, we're reinforcing that thought. And if we are able to hold 2 conflicting thoughts in our minds simultaneously, which is usually a key component of people who are very creative, then you can explain something, see the pieces in front of you, and maybe you have an insight. Or maybe you may realize something may be suited in another area simply because now you've actually taken the time to share it with somebody else. You might find incongruencies or inconsistencies, or you might find ways to leverage those ideas even more. So those are my 8 thoughts. So number 1, understand your strengths. Number 2, always be learning. Number 3, progress over perfection. Number 4, align with reality. Number 5, be persistent. Number 6, be patient. Number 7, experience over theory. And number 8, keep creating. Which one of these was your favorite? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to engaging with you. If you like this, comment, share it with your friends. Maybe ask them what are some top 8 things that they've learned. If they see this list, ask them which one's their favorite, and create a dialogue, create a conversation. And I look forward to talking to you again soon. And always remember, the light at the end of the tunnel may be you.